Today, Bees tried to get a haircut, but it just didn't take. This is ChillPoint. The scissors went in and just broke.
You got some good color, though.
Yeah.
I just went in for a color, really. I mean,
going for the full cousin it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yeah, you've got kind of the like Farrah Fawcett flip going on the sides a little bit. Yeah.
People get so mad about hair on the internet, and I don't know why.
They get mad about your hair on the internet?
Well, no, it's this time they were also mad about Graham's hair, which is funny because it clearly just wasn't working the way he wanted it to.
To be fair,
Graham,
Graham was kind of mad about his hair too.
He tried. I know he definitely tried because I've seen Graham on bad hair days where he's just like, it won't move.
It's like, why stuff?
I'm gonna take a minute to correct all of this situation live on camera, which means I have to take my headphones off again. So feel free to introduce the show.
Pete's just gonna do that, and Paul.
I'm excited to see what you're gonna do to correct the whole situation. Hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about this week's video game news, and we talk about CheckPoint, our new video game news show that's on YouTube, youtube.com/loadingreadyrun. And yeah, we'll talk about give you some extra background info for the stories we did, and talk about some of the stories we didn't do. Although, again, like last week, or not the week before, when we do quite a few stories like we did this week, with the quick points. I don't know if there are actually that many stories that we didn't do on the episode, but anyway, we shall see.
I mean, with quick points, it's more we had maybe a funny one-liner thing to say, so there's more to say about the story that we didn't really cover.
That's true.
Potentially, not always.
It's been a good way to kind of catch the things like where Paul posts a story and it has like a great little one-liner, and it's like, yeah, I can't do anything more with that, but that's just good on its own.
It's basically, we can only have one coming up at the end of the episode,
mm-hmm.
right? But sometimes there's more things that have that sort of level of joke. So yeah, let's talk about the stories we did do on the episode. Starting with this Ubisoft teaming up with Richard Hargraves, Roger, I should say.
Well, Adam, actually.
Oh no, Adam,
Roger,
who's continuing from his father, who is the author of and illustrator, I believe, of the Mr. Men books, and which are a much larger series than I guess I imagined to begin with.
Oh,
really?
Really?
There's a lot of those books.
Yeah, no, I remember them as a kid.
Yeah, me too.
Also French, for one thing. They're originally a French series.
That I wasn't aware of. But...
Hargraves is a very French name.
Yeah.
Sure, that's what I think about as a child when I'm
weird.
reading books about Mr. Men.
Though I guess it makes sense that Ubisoft would be like, oh, we should work with this French thing. Yes.
Which, and also the, so yeah, Ubisoft is teaming up with them to do a bunch of Assassin's Creed related Mr. Men books. And I legitimately, when I saw this I think it was on Polygon, I was like, Polygon, that's funny. And you even did like a little Photoshop to because of course the Mr. Men drawings are so sort of simple. It's like, oh, they did like a little drawing of
it's very much
Ezio, but like a Mr. Man. It's like, oh, that's hilarious.
It's very much a thing you expect to see fan art or someone do like a My Little Pony thing, because it's
like a mid-tier April Fool's joke.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, that's pretty funny, but no one's gonna fall for that. And then it's like, wait, this is actually leaking to a press release that's actually from Ubisoft. and it was put out today. What is This is apparently real.
It's weird that they didn't just decide to do it as an April Fool's gag to begin with, and while they were working on the details of making it real. Because then you could have put it out like that, everyone would have had a good laugh, and then like 3 weeks later, here we are, and be like, no, these are actually coming out. Like, we've been working on this for months. We just thought we'd let you know, to judge internet reaction, and now you can get them. But
check out here. I put a link in the chat to a store that sells a bunch of the a bunch of the Mr. Men type books, including there's a whole set of ones that are from like Doctor Who as Mr. Men that are amazing and adorable. And I'm very surprised that there isn't like a poster with all the doctors as
the Dixième Doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Le Dixième Docteur.
Yeah.
Le Troisième Docteur. This is good.
Also,
cool.
if you noticed, there's a couple of them. For instance, there's one that's like Bachelorette Party, Madame Chancemerie, that has a for adults only tag on it.
There's a few of those, it looks like.
Yeah, I like Madame La Bosse.
So I feel like, I mean, I guess it's not surprising that the Mr. Men books we got when we were kids were the kid friendly one, but apparently they're not all kid friendly. Maybe ones about assassins isn't that far off their brand.
I remember being a child and having access to Mr. Men books back when there was like only like a couple dozen of them. I think the Little Miss books had even just barely come out at that
those.
point. And I wanted to read all of them because they were fun little, like, just single focus things, right? And there's only like a dozen of them. But like, I also remember then getting older and at one point seeing a Mr. Man book in the wild that was like, here's, Mr. Tickle goes to the whatever. And it's like those kind of thing. Mr. Tickle goes to the subway. Like, whatever it was like it was not just Mr. This.
Mr. Tickle should not have gone to the subway.
No. But it was always like Mr. This, and that was it. It was always just a story about this is their one defining trait, like they're a Smurf, right?
Yeah.
And then when I saw the ones where it's like, it's this character again, but now they're in a situation, I was like, oh, that all the charm was gone at that point to me, because I was like, no, the whole point is that it's just a character study of them having the thing that focuses on their one weird defining trait, but now they have adventures, and I'm like,
the day that the scales of youth fell from Vita's eyes, and he was disappointed in the world.
And the character designs are so simple that it seems like something that's, somebody like whatever Mad Magazine or whatever could put out, right? Like, here's some dumb here's some, whatever. Counterculture Mr. Men, but apparently they're actually officially by the same people, so it's kind of fun. Anyway,
Little Miss Mary Jane.
It is so this is apparently a real thing, and when they come out, I'm hoping that they are, the text at least, or the pictures of it are available somewhere, just so I'm very curious. Not enough to like buy it and import it from France, but
no, but it is definitely one of those books you're gonna see somewhere where people are like, oh no, that's pretty funny, and they buy it as maybe a gag gift, or I can't see it being a thing of like a person being like a hardcore Assassin's Creed fan being like, I have to have the Mr. Men Assassin's Creed books for my Assassin's Creed collection. But I do think it's something that you'll probably see people who are like, oh, well, I've got kids and I like the series, and they like whatever,
I love the idea that there might be some like actual, to really understand the whole, the whole plot line of between the Assassins and the Templars and Abstergo Industries and all this stuff. The Mr. Man book really puts a puzzle piece in there that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Yeah.
Like that it's actually canonical within the storyline.
I mean, it'd be interesting if they end up representing a very straightforward way to understand the lore.
When there's because that's the thing, right? Is that like, it's like, these are bad people, these are good people. I mean, there is some interesting ambiguity. How much they lean on that varies between the games, but
okay. Well, for one thing, yes, we could have an adult-only Mr. Men Assassin's Creed where they're snapping people's necks or whatever assassins do.
Do Mr. Men have necks? They don't.
Just legs.
I'm sure they could
be
find
like
one.
turning their waist.
but there's other work to an assassin's job that they could go into.
That's true.
Good. You need to have good planning skills. You gotta be able to know a person's timetable if you're going to get really specific.
Pigeon breeding to send messages.
Yeah, so they don't have to focus on the actual killing part.
I like
if they don't want to.
I like Mathaus's thing in chat where they like, can we get a Legend of Zelda Mr. Man? So just Mr. Zelda would be really good.
Especially if it was called
Stop attacking me.
Especially if it was called Mr. Zelda, but it was Link.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to annoy everyone.
Yep.
I'm glad they finally made Link a girl. One day.
So the next story we've got is about Power Washer Simulator.
Yeah.
Which I think we were talking about afterwards. It's basically Viscera cleanup detail.
Yeah.
But not blood, just dirt.
The frustrating thing, like, I wrote the story. All I did is I saw the story. I saw the images from it, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be a very simple kind of VR-ish looking, first-person shooter, whatever. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't think it's a VR game. I think it's just like a, first-person sim. But then actually seeing it in motion, I was like, well, that's fucking disappointing because I really thought that because it looked like first-person Mario Sunshine, and all that did was just piss me off. Like I was just like,
what were you imagining it would be like?
I was imagining it would be more like when you're watching, like when you watch an r/power washing porn video where you've got like the stick is right near the concrete and there's like a line of water, right? Not just like a single blup 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 blup. It's like a line of water comes out, and then you have somebody who's like directing it along the concrete back and forth, and you would see the water come up and bubble out with all the dirt in it and kind of spread down the driveway. And I'm like, I was expecting there to be very like specific set pieces of stuff that were very well rendered, so that when you're like sliding stuff, it's very skeuomorphic.
It's missing the money shot, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it does, because it doesn't feel like reality. It's like a blob of water hits some dirt, and it's like, look, the dirt's gone. I'm like, that's not what makes it satisfying. What makes it satisfying is watching the dirt be pushed out across the rest of the driveway, and slowly all the dirt keeps moving and moving and moving.
I think probably what happened is Beach saw the title, and it does sound like a very compelling title because you're like, oh yes, I know exactly what that is, but hasn't maybe seen the quality level of a lot of simulator games that show up on Steam.
Yeah,
because that when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah,
I mean, I agree. It doesn't look as satisfying. It doesn't have the fun.
It's an indie title, right? So I'm like, I didn't expect them to be like. It's like we keep going on about how like like over the top realism in games is destroying video games because they're going to be too expensive and hard to develop. And yet here's a game where I'm like, I needed it to be over the top realistic in order to actually enjoy it.
I mean, that actually reminds me a few years ago now, I guess. I was on the. Games of Chance with James. We ended up, it was a simulator. It was like simulator game, and the game we ended up with was PC Building Simulator.
Yeah,
it's by the same people.
Is it?
Yeah,
that's what someone in the chat just said.
That actually makes sense, because I actually had kind of the same reaction of disappointment, because I thought it would be like, putting the pieces in, and you have to like, get the piece in the right spot and, figure out how to like mount it properly. Like, a really precise simulation of that aspect of it.
And put pressure on the thing, or like, it's like, damn, I can't get the screw in, so I have to push the card over a little bit and hold it in place while I screw the thing in. But it was just like,
here's a PC, click on the component, which one from the list of components do you want? I want that one, and then it appears there. And it's just like, And then you can like sell them and then like get more money to buy more components to make other ones. And it's like, oh, that's not the part of building the PC thing that I thought was being simulated. I'm disappointed.
PC parts picker.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Okay. So yeah, the two of you need simulation games that really simulate everything down to the hard choice where you accidentally break the RAM even.
Yeah, it's simulating. I guess what it is smaller in scope, but more high fidelity is really what I'm looking for.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like maybe it isn't for that. Like maybe it's just like driveway power washing simulator, but that driveway is rendered really, really well.
Absolutely. And maybe it's like a few different driveways. There's like, you've got your standard like asphalt style.
You want the down to the second simulation that like train simulators give.
Essentially.
Or like Microsoft
the
Flight
same
Simulator.
amount of time. Yeah, like something really like in depth in its detail.
Can we get PC Power Wash Simulator? When you get just the filthy fucking it ends up on your desk and you're like, how am I going to clean this thing out?
Yeah, like
should you use a dust.
I mean, it was even there was a dust thing, like a clean the vents thing, and I was like, oh, this will be good. But it's just like click on it and the vents get cleaner, and I was like, oh,
no,
I can't. I want to spray the thing and have like the dust come out.
The dust needs to like fly like all over the place on the screen and get on the UI. Like, that's what it needs to start clouding the UI, and you need to like blow it off the UI as well.
Although I am willing to watch somebody take a PC, put it in the middle of their driveway, and throw a power washer at it in a video. If anyone has that, I don't want to do it myself. I like my computer.
I'm sure that exists out there somewhere. All right. The next story is, I don't know if it's the final story, but we haven't talked about the whole, GameStop stock thing for a while. And that's because there hasn't really been any interestingness to it. It's largely cooled off, although it's still higher than it should be. But it's not at the ridiculous levels and rising that it once was. But the story here is that the CEO of GameStop, George Sherman, left. And as with most high-level positions in a company like that, had a bunch of stock options. And people were asking about this, like, when the GameStop thing was happening. It's like, did the owners of GameStop just sell all their stock now because they can? And theoretically, like, there's all sorts of rules about, selling off stock when you're actually owning the company, because it affects a bunch of stuff. But if you're leaving, then you can be like, so long, suckers. And suckers in this case encapsulates a lot of people. Both other people on the GameStop board, GameStop customers, people buying GameStop stock. A lot of people are encapsulated in that suckers line.
A lot of people on the board already left.
Yeah.
We
8 out of 11 people left.
Yeah, so a few less suckers over there.
So he left and sold all the stock, which when he got his stock was worth like probably quite a good amount, and then it tanked dramatically because of not only GameStop just in general, but then COVID and all this stuff. And so then it's like, well, the company is going crap, and the company is going bankrupt or the company is doing really poorly.
It's getting worse and worse. Yeah.
And that affects then the CEO isn't going to get as much money. But now the company is doing worse and worse and worse. He leaves and gets a ton of money because the stock is at this weird inflated price that it shouldn't be at. Yeah. So good for him, I guess.
I mean, I would have left too and done that. Like, that's just if you were probably already thinking of leaving because things weren't great, and then you're like, wait, if I do that and I sell all my stocks.
Yeah, it's like,
heck yeah, I'm leaving like now.
I get to leave this company that I'm in the inside and I know how screwed it is. I get to leave this company and make a ton of money and never have to work again. Yeah, that seems like a good call. And especially since, a lot of people, Reggie was on the board and is now not. Same with a bunch of other people. As we talked about, I think we mentioned that they're probably just like calling in people, random people who work at
managers.
Random people who work at GameStop. Just be like, hey, could you come be on the board?
Yeah. I mean, the last time I remember hearing something about GameStop that wasn't stock related was that weird thing that they were doing where they had their employees participating in a contest so that they could get extra hours.
There's like
at the store.
There's like an Instagram contest.
Yeah, that was like back at Christmas or something.
Right, and the prize was you got extra hours to distribute to your employees at your store.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I just when you hear stuff like TikTok, that's generally not a good sign for a variety of reasons. The idea that they don't want to give out enough hours to stores to cover what they need to cover during a holiday season, and that you have to basically try to win more is
it's the fact that they don't give out enough hours. And they know that they don't give out enough hours because they know that it is an incentive. Like if they thought they were giving out enough hours, then the prize of more hours would not be a very good prize. But they know that people are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah. Now take it from someone who's worked at a company that went through a recession. It's you can tell. You know exactly when you should be jumping ship. You just can't always.
You just can't sometimes, right?
Yeah, sometimes you don't have a $179 million stock payout waiting for you when you jump ship.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have thought ahead, I guess. Like George Sherman did. And now there's a story about a small handheld video game device. How do you pronounce the name of this device, Beej?
Tamagotchi. That's how it's pronounced.
That thing.
Tamagotchi.
Cool. I'm gonna still call it Tamagotchi. I don't care.
Oh, fuck, it hurts every time.
I don't care. It's not like it's an everyday word that I say a lot, but now it might be. Maybe I'll even go find one. I'm sure I could find a Tamagotchi. Maybe not what it is.
Okay,
I want an older one. I don't want a $60 one with a video camera in it.
Yeah.
I want one of the old style ones. I want my old knockoff one. There was an old knockoff one I had called My Dinosaur, and it was really bad. And the dinosaur grew from an egg and became a brontosaurus, and then a pterodactyl, and it made no sense. And I loved it.
Wait, what? It grew from the pterodactyl is a grown up version of a brontosaurus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was great. Made no sense.
This is gonna blow paleontology way over.
It also didn't do that thing where it had hearts. It had like a meter, and every time you fed it, it was like 1 pixel of the meter. So if you could get your whole like meter filled up, that was like 20 or 30 pixels or whatever it was. That thing lasted all day.
Okay.
Then you could just ignore it.
But that was important. I had to go to school, and they wouldn't let you have them in the classroom.
That's fair. Yeah.
And also, I know that they weren't $60 at that point, because I know you asked me, you were like, how much was a Tamagotchi? And I was like, I don't know, like $20. And the reason I know that was there was a girl in class who had like 5 of them. And that was a status symbol.
No kidding.
Of how clearly much money her parents were willing to spend on her.
Yeah, I believe they premiered at $18, I guess, American.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, about $30 in today's dollars. That was in $1997.
Yeah. This is the one story where I didn't convert it to Norwegian kroner. Which I feel a little sad that I didn't work it in, but I was too busy just being like, $60? Because really it's like, that's the rub here is that what is supposed to be this tiny little toy that you can give to a child,
right,
and that they can hang off their stuff and run around with, and like $20 makes a lot of sense for that, right?
Like I feel like looking at the pictures of it, I feel like you could almost have made something that was basically this, like back when the original Tamagotchis were made.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, probably. Something similar.
But they just didn't want to because they didn't want to charge $60 for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the full
like
color
the
screen
point,
would
the
have been a
point
little
was that
hard,
it was like a
yeah.
super. Was
Yeah.
that it was like
Oh,
a super
man.
compact and cheap to
Yeah.
make thing.
I never actually had a branded Tamagotchi. I had like the dinosaur one, and I think at later point I got what was called a Nano Baby, and the Nano Babies were also super weird because they lasted 2 weeks. The game lasted a full month, but you got a new baby in 2 weeks, and it was such a weird thing because the baby shows up, you keep it alive for 2 weeks, and then it turns like 3 in game, and then the parents take it back, and then you get the new baby to look after until it's 3, and then they take it back, and then you successfully played the game.
Lazy
If they
goddamn
both
parents.
alive, and I'm like, wait, why am I taking care of someone else's baby for 3 years and then you take it away?
Yeah.
What is that?
So yeah, you're like a surrogate or something.
Yeah, it's very weird.
I would feel like if this is supposed to be for people who are in their mid-30s to buy because they're like, I want another. I liked Tamagotchi. I want to have another one on my thing.
This is for 16-year-olds.
And it's like if it's not.
13-year-olds.
Sorry, what? I was talking and I didn't.
Sorry, this is clearly directed at 13-year-olds.
$60 though for a 13-year-old is like not normal still though.
Is it? Lots of 13-year-olds
That's a
buy
video
video
game.
games, and those are like $60.
Not with their own goddamn money that often. I don't think. I don't think that's the case.
I haven't canvassed a lot of 13-year-olds to find out.
Because like if you're allowance for a child, there's no way has risen so much that like when they say like teenagers have nothing but disposable income, it's true because they don't have to pay rent or bills or whatever. So it seems weird.
What was your allowance?
My allowance was $5 a week if I did all of my chores, and that at its peak it was $5 a week. Let's be clear, and that was when I was like 11 or 12 years old, and when I got a part-time job, or it's like delivering papers or whatever, and having that extra $2 a week to and again that sucked. That was a terrible paper route. $2 a week didn't go anywhere, and then when I had a part-time job, I was making $4.55 an hour because you're 14 years old and you're abused in that way. Then even then I wasn't making anywhere near the kind of money to do that kind of stuff. Now if you have a kid these days who's 16 years old, 15 years old, and they're earning like $12 an hour Canadian at fucking Tim Hortons or whatever.
Yeah, we can't say Zellers anymore.
Yeah, and they're doing that. Then it's like, okay, then they work a couple shifts a week, 3 shifts a week. They work for maybe 3 or 4 hours. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see them coming home with maybe $100 or whatever, and being like, I can afford to buy this week because I did this. But that's like part-time job money. I don't think that's like this is like when I saw $60, I'm like, this is like that kid who is a friend of mine that I knew in elementary school, and he's a cool kid, but his dad was a chartered accountant, and they had mad cash.
Okay, seriously, 100%. That a $60 Tamagotchi, I don't think these days even counts as a special birthday gift. I think that counts as basically a video game, which a lot of families are a good mid-class family might be buying once a month for a kid.
Yeah, I mean,
I know you don't agree with it, but I don't.
There's no reason why, like, if parents buy a kid a video game, maybe they would buy them. Like, the kid doesn't necessarily have to be buying this thing with their own money.
Yeah,
you know,
like I take it as that I was an average kid. That I don't think in any way that I was in a household that was like lower class, like, or at the poverty point, and I definitely wasn't an upper class kid. I feel like I was distinctly middle class when I was growing up, and I kind of thought that even in the case of inflation, I'm like, I don't see parents turning around and saying, "Here, child, here's $60 for the month, and go buy yourself whatever you want with that." Like it's like I still have a hard time like wrapping my head around. And I know it's been 30 years since I was a child.
I'm pretty sure we went from like lower class to middle class at some point, given because oil industry will do that to you. And sure, around 13, I was getting $5 a week. But when we were in good times, when I was 16, I was also expected to buy my own clothes, which that was a mistake. I got $200 a month.
Right.
And I say buying my own clothes was a mistake because I definitely did not buy clothes. I definitely spent all that money on video games.
Yeah.
Who needs pants when you have video games?
I mean, that's how I'm living right now, Paul. I don't need pants, and I got video games.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was just preparation for the future. Well, you did mention Zellers.
Yes.
Which takes us neatly into this story. Which is that the next story, which is that there's going to be a Batman Fortnite crossover comic. Again, this is kind of like the Mr. Man thing, except it's much more believable because Fortnite is like whatever. But what I love about this is that, at least from what it looks like in like the pictures of the covers and stuff, looks like a serious Batman comic. Like the style of the drawing is very like, Dark Knight Batman.
Yeah.
And then there's like all these Fortnite characters randomly flying around. And yeah, it's Batman Fortnite crossover. Batman, and then he keeps dying or losing every 20 minutes, and so forgets, and he has to like start writing things on his body, apparently, Memento style. And Graham used that as a jumping off point to talk about the Batman goes to the Calgary Stampede comic.
That looks so silly. I'm so glad there were screenshots of that.
Yeah.
There's brief little moments in that I thought was for one thing, I'm like, almost assuredly Zellers had a hand in seeing this published in the first place.
Because it's not just, and as people, as when he showed that picture, Beige was like, oh wait, because it's not just Zellers. It is a specific Zellers outside of Alberta. Or outside of Calgary.
I'd say Edmonton.
Edmonton. It actually says, we stopped at the Zellers outside Edmonton, and I'm like, okay, that, to me, that made the weird kind of like American publisher sense, because they're like, well, like fucking Philadelphia and New Jersey, like, they're right next to each other. You can drive from one to the other, and I'm kind of like, that Zellers that was outside Edmonton, I've been to that Zellers. It's not outside Edmonton anymore. It is literally part of the Edmonton metropolitan area. Like, it is part of Edmonton proper. Yeah. I've been to that Zellers, and it's like outside Edmonton. I'm like, when this thing was published, that was certainly almost like it was just on the outskirts of Edmonton. It was never thought of as being properly in Edmonton. And to get from Edmonton to Calgary is a 3-hour drive at 110 kilometers an hour.
In the comic, he does take the bat plane.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
also,
about 45
they go to
minutes.
Zellers to get cowboy outfits, by the way. So that
well, I mean, Zellers would have had them around Calgary Stampede time.
Yeah, but wouldn't you just stay in Calgary? Wouldn't it be easier to get them in Calgary?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you could have gone to like Daniel Leather and like done yourself up like in so head to toe leather from top to bottom.
What I really loved was seeing the picture of like the brick building and being like, yeah, no, all Zellers were basically brick building looking things.
There's a total there's this totally weird like, so I'm gonna derail for my benefit. When I was a child, and Calgary was having the Olympics.
We're already on a derail, so yeah, that's fine.
Might as well. Archie Comics did a thing with the 1988 Calgary Winter Olympics, and while they were in Calgary to watch the Olympics to support this guy who was from like a very sunny country, but he entered like cross country skiing because it's like he's going to be the only athlete from this country that's like an equatorial country, and he's going to go compete.
Okay.
And
sure.
and he's going to be a part of the whole thing, and he's practicing, and he's doing pretty well, and then he like couldn't wake up and some other shit. There's a whole thing that goes on. It's a really fun little comic. They're like, you know what? Let's go to Edmonton, and I'm like, what the fuck? And they get on a plane in Calgary, like Lodge Industries private plane, and they fly to Edmonton to go to West Edmonton Mall, and those two things are not next to each other. The Edmonton International Airport, Edmonton International Airport, and West Ed are not near each other. Neither is the Edmonton City Center Airport and West Ed. But it's like they land, and it's like, and here we are at the mall, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And they go to the mall, and they hang out and do shopping, and I'm like, you can tell that Archie and Veronica and everybody are tourists because they're like, why the hell did you go to West Edmonton Mall to go shopping?
Because it's biggest mall.
Because you're tourists.
I mean, they are tourists. They're supposed to be tourists in the comic. 2, I think you'll find that most comic books don't have panels of just people driving along the road for an entire page. Like they edit that stuff out.
Just the idea of like, let's get on a thing and fly for 45 minutes and land and then drive for another 45 minutes and then go shopping. And I'm like, that's a lot to do when you're just like, let's go to the mall. I'm like, Calgary has very nice malls and you're there. Just go to those malls.
But they're not West Ed. West Ed is like definitely a tourist thing of like, you have to go to West Edmonton Mall.
Yeah.
Like as somebody who was, born and raised here on the West Coast, and I've never been to West Edmonton Mall, and hardly been to Alberta, really. I must say, like, the West Edmonton Mall does kind of loom large in my mind as, like, this sort of semi-mythical place. That it's like, oh, the things you can do at West Edmonton Mall.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll plan a trip and we'll take everybody there.
I mean, I'm sure it's somewhat disappointing, but it's like one of those things where, like it's basically like a Disneyland or something, like a fairground.
I feel like in retrospect, now that I think about it, it's like, yeah, your first time there is kind of amazing.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of interesting stuff if you've never seen it before. The giant whale that you can go sit inside. There's like the submarines. There's the roller coaster and theme area thing. There's like the really big theme food court thing.
Not the size. It's not the size of an actual whale.
You go to the movie theater, and if you're lucky, and they have the dragon that's spewing fire,
that's like every 18 minutes, though. You can usually catch it.
Yeah, but sometimes it's broken.
Yeah, so that's fair.
I worked at West Edmonton Mall, so and
a dragon spewing fire, but it's only every 18 minutes. It's fine.
I grew up not in Edmonton, but like 6 hours away from Edmonton, so like. You got to go to Edmonton to get to the Anime Con, and all my friends were like, oh, we got to go to West Ed all the time, and so you go, and you're like, okay, and it's kind of fun, but then you go there, and you live in Edmonton, you don't go to West Edmonton Mall.
No.
When you work at West Edmonton Mall, you go there, and your biggest problem is, do I wear the work lanyard? Because if I walk around the mall wearing the work lanyard, everyone's going to stop me to ask me directions to parts of the mall that I don't know anything about, because it is a large mall.
Very large mall.
But if you wear the work lanyard, all the really annoying people at the kiosks won't talk to you.
Oh, right.
And they are very pushy.
I don't know if it's still true, but at one point it was the biggest mall in North America.
Yeah, it's just the largest mall in Canada now, I think. The thing that I guess makes this Batman comic actually more unbelievable is not the fact that they went to Zellers, but the fact that they went to Edmonton and didn't go to West Edmonton Mall.
There you go. They went to. They were like, we could go to West Edmonton Mall, but let's go to Zellers instead.
Yeah,
it's basically the same experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and not just the mall kiosk people. Sometimes people with those like, oh, I've got a coupon thing I'm going to sell you, just like randomly walk around the mall, and they definitely don't belong there, and they should get hauled off by security, because the whole, oh, I'm going to sell you coupons thing. Oh my goodness, that dude who tried to sell me those hair coupons by making me pay up front in advance with a debit card to a place that was like 30 blocks away was just ridiculous. And he got so mad when after I listened to his thing, I was like, yeah, I'm not into paying for that, because I thought he was just going to give me a coupon where he showed up and paid. But I'm like, that's not really a coupon at that point, dude.
Yeah. No.
There gets to have a derail too.
Yeah, it's fine.
This is a treat.
By the way, in that comic book, Joker's scheme was that he somehow came upon the land title to like North America, or at most all of Canada and most of like the United States. And so he was at this Calgary Stampede equivalent place, being like, "People of Canada, I own you now." And kind of expected that to be the end of it. Sort of like people were like, "Oh, okay. Well, he's got the paperwork. It all checks out."
Yeah. All the
and then Batman,
the land titles. Go ahead.
And then Batman was like, "Or I could just hog tie you because we're at a rodeo." And everyone's like, "Yay! Now we don't have to give Canada to him because he's hog-tied."
Oh man!
I guess I don't know quite how that resolved the situation, but I guess
that's basically Albertan legal court right there.
Every few months, a guy shows up, declares that Canada is theirs, and we're supposed to respond. And if somebody else comes up in the next 20 minutes and stops them, then we don't have to worry about it. It's just like elections.
The idea that it's like that like when the people, like when white people landed in North America, they're like, okay, so all of this space that we haven't even explored yet, we're gonna write a title up for all of that on a piece of paper and say, that's the legal document for all of that. We haven't even looked to see if there's other people living there yet, but now we have a document for all that space. But then for the space that we landed on, we're gonna have a completely different thing for that.
We've invented.
This is like peak.
Yeah, it's like we've invented this thing called legal documents, and we then made a legal document which says we own all this stuff. So you have to.
Yep.
Anyway,
now we put it on the blockchain.
We did some quick points. Turns out Discord is not being purchased by Microsoft. In fact, apparently it's going to be purchased by anybody. They're just going to keep doing their thing. As said in this story, I don't know. I feel like they're not making a lot of money. Like, to be honest, being bought by Microsoft didn't seem like that terrible plan on their part. I mean, from a consumer point of view, it's not great, but it's like better than some alternatives, I guess.
So Discord sells you like what, Nitro or something?
Stickers.
And then the stickers are a newer thing, and some other stuff.
They can't be making enough money off that.
Yeah.
Well, if everybody is like me, then they're definitely making no money. But I assume that there are other people who actually pay for Nitro and stuff because things get Nitro boosted in certain Discords, and stickers can be fun. I don't know why you would buy those, but hey, I'm not going to judge.
Like, some people definitely do buy Nitro, but no way there's enough. Like the kind of bandwidth and servers Discord must require to do their stuff, especially now that they're going more heavily into the multimedia, streaming, competing with, basically competing with like Zoom and stuff, although in a slightly different way. The kinds of bandwidth and servers that are required to maintain that thing definitely are not being paid for just with some Nitros. People buy Nitros.
So a couple of things that, two things that I want to bring up in regards to this, because Lithobreaker talks about presumably Microsoft wanted to turn Discord into a Slack competitor. Well, I want to address that, where I think they were going with it, but also I want to address the fact that Discord's assessed value, like the value in which they are looking at all of the stuff they've created, plus all their employees, plus all their accounts. So everybody who currently has an account with Discord, assessing that together, they're coming up with about $7 billion. And that seems ridiculous unless you look in the sense of the fact that this is a social media company that has achieved critical network status, right? Like it's not that it is critical to be on this network, but the fact that the network itself has gone critical. Enough people are on it that it attracts more people to the network. You know, if you say, well, come visit my Discord so you can get information on this, or because now you see people posting that as part of things. Like MangaDex is down right now because of because of problems with their database. And they're like, for updates, you can come to our Discord. And I'm kind of like, when you're putting that stuff up, instead of being like, go look at our Twitter to see what's going on, or go look at our Facebook page, you're like, no, come to our Discord and you can get announcements as to what's going on. That's being considered as part of the larger social discourse. So I think that's where they're looking at, how do you assess your value, and they're saying this is what we're seeing as assessed value.
Like I feel, yeah, I do think the value in Discord is primarily its positioning and its audience. I mean, it does have some interesting technology, but I feel like not that interesting to somebody like Microsoft, who already has like Skype and various other technologies. Like I don't think they're doing anything particularly innovative in that regard. It's just more about the packaging.
And so part two of this, like the thing that I wanted to talk about, that they're going to turn into a Slack competitor, I don't think it was going to be a Slack competitor at all. I think what Discord was going to be was a gift to Xbox. I think the idea was that Microsoft was buying that so that it would get integrated into Xbox and be their gaming messaging platform, their gaming communication platform, where instead of having like however you assemble your communities in the Xbox world, Discord would be the thing that like Xbox services plug into this. And if you're using voice chat or whatever, that can be applied to the Discord stuff as well. So you could also be broadcasting through Discord to other people. Because I think the idea is like Teams is their Slack replacement, which is gonna just kind of get jammed down people's throat until enough people say, I guess we're using Teams now. Skype is supposed to be their consumer platform for voice chat, which is not as popular, but it is still fairly popular. Like let's not kid ourselves. It's still popular enough. And then Discord was going to be their social media platform for gaming. And I mean, at that point, then you're like, well, let's let all those things fight themselves out and see what happens. And that is weird, because then it means that all the Discords that are devoted to stuff that has nothing to do with gaming, whether or not Xbox would have said, this stuff doesn't belong on our service and we're going to start pushing that stuff out, would have been another thing. But now it's not going to happen, so we have to worry about it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because throughout the years, because Twitter's been big for a while, and Facebook and Slacks are kind of being used by some people as kind of like little private social gathering spaces as well. But Google Plus didn't really work out. Lots of other social media platforms have tried to come along, and Discord's really like gotten itself in there and wedged itself down to a space where people are like, I don't even run a website, I just put all my information in a Discord. Or because that's why you don't want to send people to Twitter necessarily, because a Discord you can set up a channel that's like news and people can find it without pinning tweets.
And it feels like semi-private. It feels private in the way that a community bulletin board is private in like your community.
Yeah,
like,
or like a forum
can come
or
to it.
whatnot. Like even though it doesn't quite act like a forum.
Yeah, it's semi-public, because it's like, if you are from outside the community, I'm not going to Saanich to go look at the community message boards to see what's going on in Saanich, but it exists, and if I wanted to, I could go over there and do that. Saanich is a municipality around Victoria. And I think that's kind of the same thing with the Discord. It's not something everybody can see just immediately.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I find services or companies that use Discord as like a support vector to be incredibly frustrating. Like, because unless it is just because Discord, instead of as opposed to like a forum or something, because Discord doesn't have like threads really, they've got a sort of half-assed thread thing, but not really threads. You'll have the situation where you have like the support channel, and you post something in there, and then somebody else posts something in there, and then somebody else posts something in there, and then somebody else posts something. You just have like 10 people asking questions, and then whenever the person who is supposed to be looking at that comes along, they will look at them and maybe answer something, but probably not. And so it's just like, this is pointless.
I like Discord for like a social gathering thing, and I don't mind like if I'm in a place I already hang out, having to find information out that way. What I don't like is in like Paul's scenario here, if I Google something on the internet because I can't find a thing and I find a forum where someone's asked about it, I can do that. But if I have to go to someone's Discord, I have to join that Discord.
Yeah. Right. You have to actively join it.
That's why. Yeah, like I can go to Reddit and look at things. I can go to Recetera and look at things. I can go to any kind of online forum and look at things. I can even find things on people's public Twitters without having to log in. But Discord, the fact that I see things that are like, if you want to keep up with information for this, join our Discord, like, no, I already belong to too many. I
think that's the thing is it's in the way it's a little bit like the way forums were not BBS forums. I keep saying BBS forums, but I don't mean like bulletin board systems that were on dial-up and stuff back in the day. But I mean like, our forum, like the Lure forum, is that in a lot of ways, it's like if you come to a forum like that and you want to make a post, well, then you have to make an account, and that kind of the how easy it is to glance off of that for people to be like, I don't want to participate in this, but as a means of just getting information, it was great. Yeah. If you want to not participate but just read, you could do that.
Mm-hmm. Like, and that's 90% of the time when you want to, have that. But anyway, this story was not about how Discord has problems, but it is about how apparently they're not being sold. So your data is
that rumored thing is not happening.
Yeah,
the rumored thing is rumored to be not happening anymore. So your data is not necessarily safe, but as safe as it was before, I guess.
Yeah.
Nintendo is suing some folks from a hardware hacking ring, which is mostly interesting as a story because one of the guys that they're suing is also named Bowser.
Yeah.
I feel like just Nintendo suing some people. I mean, the fact that these people were operating a hardware hacking ring or hardware hacking service and got the book really thrown at them is somewhat unusual. Usually these things are just sort of, whatever, they get a cease and desist and stop, and there isn't that much in terms of consequences. But these people obviously were on the high end of people they wanted to make an example of. And most importantly, one of them is named Greg Bowser. Or Gary Bowser. So therefore, everybody has to do news stories about it because it's a funny name.
So the fun thing is that Bowser, clearly, but then we could claim I'm pretty sure the rival character in Pokemon was Gary.
Oh, funny. Didn't realize that.
At least in the cartoon.
And the what I think is interesting here too is that Bowser's name was never Bowser.
Which one? Which one are we talking about?
It's in Super Mario Brothers.
Okay, that one. The dinosaur.
He's just King Koopa in Japan.
Yes.
That's all he is. Uh-huh. But when it came to North America, they gave him a name. They called him Bowser, King Bowser or Bowser King of the Koopas, or however you want to do that.
Sure.
Because of the whole localization process. And so it's weird to me that's like, if they had never done that, this Bowser stuff wouldn't mean anything to us.
Oh,
here in the year of our Lord 2021.
You're saying if we called him King Koopa for like over here at all, we wouldn't be getting any of these things. Well, that sounds boring.
Yeah. Right?
And and then also that the head of Nintendo is now also named Bowser.
Right? That would have never meant anything to us at all. It wouldn't have been a thing.
That is a name that has no interesting meaning to me.
It's a strange name, but okay. Yeah.
So, and the thing, Team Executor's thing is that they make Switch hacking. They made the 3DS hacking gear as well, but they make Switch hacking hardware gear for the Switch and the Switch Lite. And Nintendo's largest problem with them seems to be that they're selling this stuff.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, so they're like cease and desist, and they're like, yeah, no, we're just going to keep doing this. And that's why they're getting charged with felonies, is it's like, you're told to stop doing it, and they're like, but how about instead I don't? You know, what if I did the thing you didn't want me to do? That's internet funny. And like and that's why the lawsuits. So it's like, it's not like Nintendo was like coming down with the hammer hard. They said, stop doing it. They said, we won't. And they said, fine, we'll see you in court.
Because typically you can kind of get away with hacking your own stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes to selling that stuff or hacking other people's stuff, they tend to frown upon that.
It's not a good, like, playing chicken.
Also, it's a more traceable.
Like, oh yeah, Nintendo, what are you going to do? Sue me?
It's like, that's exactly what I'm going
to do. Yes, we have an extensive lawyer section that will indeed sue you.
And they just kind of like cover the mics like, did he actually say that part out loud? Like, does he not know what we do?
All right.
This is why I never
one
bring a
story here. Call of Duty Warzone has a new, somewhat new microtransaction purchasable skin. So they've talked about how Call of Duty Warzone apparently its microtransactions are only cosmetic, right? So it's like they're only cosmetic, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But they worked their way around that problem by making a $20 skin that is basically just a guy wearing all black. Which
that can't be that big a deal, right? Play-wise?
Turns out it makes it really easy to hide in shadows when you're wearing all black.
Mm-hmm. Only cosmetic. It's fine.
I would put forward that in some cases, this does bring up the question that if it's better and easier to hide in shadows, why aren't the super elite squad people that are like in the game by default wearing that?
Right.
Like, if that's better, shouldn't they just be wearing that?
Why are they wearing like, neon pink mohawks or whatever? I guess, I don't know. I'm assuming Warzone is the same as Fortnite.
I mean, I'm assuming everybody's dressed in gray and green. It's Call of Duty.
I'm imagining that this is like I imagine the equivalent of this is like if the Nintendo 64 had microtransactions, and so it was like, look, they're just going to be cosmetic only, but we're bringing out this new skin for GoldenEye called Odd Job. It's just cosmetic.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's funny because like the only place you go from here is to be like, we came with a really cool looking skin, so it like when you run around in it shimmers, right? So it's like, it's very like, look how obvious it is. It's shimmery and stuff, and it reflects light and does whatever. But really what it is thermoptic camo. It's like when you're out running around and you like stand still, you can see like a shimmering object in the distance, but it's all the same color as all the things around it. So you have no way of actually telling where it is.
That would be cool.
It would be really neat.
Or like or maybe like you get a bonus if you play in like neon orange.
Yeah, right?
It's like you get a bigger gun, but you have to play wearing like a neon orange safety vest.
I mean,
and with a big stop sign above you.
I mean, it's just cosmetic arguments aside. The fact that they clearly had a thing that was very similar to this that you could earn through gameplay, and was a thing that people knew that you could use to hide in shadows and stuff, and then they took it away.
Right.
And then made a very much similar thing, but was like, but $20 now. Kinda. Yeah. That's kind of skeezy, honestly.
Yeah.
That's some very Brad for monetization stuff.
It's like, oh shoot, we could have made money off of that.
Yeah, we should be selling those. We should be just giving those away
for
playing the game.
People don't like that one, we'll take it away. It's fine, but you could pay $20 if you wanted it.
It's also like, it's that thing of like, it's like the reason why you say cosmetic only, like what cosmetic only means, what cosmetic only means in the gameplay point of view is doesn't affect gameplay.
Yeah. Mechanics are all the same.
If it is a cosmetic skin that makes it so the gameplay is different, then that is no longer like cosmetic only, microtransactions, and now you're running into the same problem as regular microtransactions.
So, okay, I have an idea for Warzone. If they're catching a lot of heat about this, I'm sure to be making money off of it. So I'm like, okay, so here, new skin idea, and it makes you very big. So that'll be great. It'll be the kind. And therefore it's like any perceived advantage that you have for wearing this skin, at least you're very big, so you're easier to hit. And the idea is it's an outfit that is just a tank.
Oh.
Makes you very big, easy to hit.
But also you're a tank.
Also you're a tank.
When you said a skin that makes you really big, I thought you were going in a different direction with this.
Yeah, me too.
Possibly related to our coming up story. Because our coming up story was about Kyle Hill, YouTuber, doing a sponsored by Capcom video. He's a very popular sort of science, not like science explainer YouTuber. And he did a video about how what would actually happen to you if Lady Dimitrescu stepped on your head with her high heels. Using
and
very,
your chest, I think. Yeah.
Yes, using very scientific things of working out body mass index, what her weight is, probably, roughly, because there isn't actually an official weight yet. I'm sure they're going to tell us that.
Oh, I'm sure that's coming.
Yeah.
Working out and then working out, and the how big the heel on the high heel is, and all this stuff. The conclusion being that you don't want it to happen if you want to survive. No. If that is not a consideration for you, then
It doesn't even sound like it's a slow kill. From the amount of kilopascals I saw him like list in the little thing, I was like, "Shit, that's I step on your ribs and they just cave in." Like,
well, I mean, they're a type of heel too. Like if you're like stilettos
depending on the point
are
of pressure,
very thin, and enough pressure. Like a stiletto is a knife. Like there's a reason they
why
call
they called
it
them
that.
that. Yeah,
like
in
That's why women wear them. It's secret knife shoes.
What surprised me more about that was the fact that it was sponsored by Capcom, because I keep thinking that Resident Evil is made by Konami. I don't know why.
Silent Hill is probably why. You're conflating Resident Evil with Silent Hill.
I must be.
I remember back when I was in high school, my physics teacher showed us a scene from a John Candy movie called Armed and Dangerous, which is actually quite a fun movie. John Candy and Eugene Levy as cops. But there's a scene where he's dressed up in drag, and he's wearing high heels, and he was saying, and this was in physics class, and he was saying, notice how in this scene he only ever is walking on concrete. They don't have him walking on like wooden floors or linoleum or anything. And that's that was like his introduction to like force over area. Along with actually that same teacher, along with like having the like bed, he had like a bed of nails thing, and so he was like, he laid down on the bed of nails and was like, see, you can do this, and you can break bricks and on your chest and stuff, and you're fine. And then he's like, and you can even stand on it, and he was like standing on it, and he's like, it's totally fine. And you can even, and then he started hopping up and down on one foot on the bed of nails. And he's like, don't do this at home. Because he actually had a false leg.
Okay, good. Because like, how is he standing on the damn thing?
Anyway.
I got to lay in a bed of nails at a science center, actually.
Yeah.
When I was in Phoenix. It was fun.
Anyway. So, and we actually did skip this Luigi core Lego set.
Luigi? Luigi?
Which is, apparently, so it's like there's the part of the story, which is there was a firmware update for the Mario Lego set that made Mario be like, "Where's Luigi?" Like calling out for his brother, which has this two aspects of being like weird and creepy that it's calling out for his brother. Also, the like, you know, Lego having a firmware update is a thing.
$60?
Yeah, I'll admit I did not know that those things were updatable. Yeah. Until that happened. So that was interesting. I know people are definitely going to start saying Lego is not your friend and Nintendo's not your friend and companies are not your friends and whatnot. But I am incredibly disappointed in Lego and Nintendo putting through a firmware update on a thing, on a kid's toy that, like, the big news that people were pulling around was like, oh, we leaked the newest thing coming out. And it's like, oh yes, because Luigi is like a totally unknown thing that they'd never do. But the idea that your kid's toy will suddenly ask for another toy. Yeah. And as if you're a parent, that means you have.
Please give me a friend. I'm lonely.
Like, yeah.
I tried writing a story for this, like a story for this, because, and based on that very idea, which is why it turned into a quick point, because I rapidly ran out of gas because I felt like largely like it's all about the future of where this kind of thing goes, obviously, and the sense of right now it's just him going, Luigi, hello Luigi, like that's kind of it. He doesn't actually say where's Luigi or bye my brother Luigi, like he doesn't actually get explicit about it.
No,
but he does call out for Luigi.
Luigi, and now available at fine retailers.
Exactly. Would you like to go online so I can buy Luigi? You know, like, or, you know, say yes and I will buy Luigi and send it to your house. You know, like that kind of stuff isn't, Alexa, buy Luigi. You know, like that kind of thing isn't happening. But it's kind of like they're companies are going to skirt the line.
Yeah.
And they're going to get very close to actually jumping over it to make that kind of thing happen.
As a precedent, it's not great.
Yeah, it's a very worrying thing, and I think we're right to say let's push back against that because
that's the thing. I think this is already skirting the line.
Yeah.
Of pointing that out and trying to, maybe not on purpose. Like I like to think there's at least one person in this process who's like, oh, this will be cute.
Yeah.
Because if you take away the money aspect of it, it sounds very cute. But the moment you're like, no, this is capitalism. You
don't get Luigi for free, right?
No, it's not. It's actually really kind of terrifying, especially when you're like, should there be advertising laws that stop shit like this from happening? Yeah. And of course there probably are, but again, he's not saying, oh, go buy my brother or do this. He's doing a very cutesy thing of asking about his brother.
Yeah.
And like there is some precedent in the video games of them like losing each other and being like, Mario, you know, like, so there is like that, it kind of works, but I just thought it would be amazing if instead of like releasing this other set, they just released the like Luigi conversion kit that's just like a different hat and a different pants.
Right? I actually expected that was what was going to happen. They're just going to release like, because it looks like the faces are even the same.
Well, because you can take
and maybe like
take the pants off to change costumes for Mario.
It's different, like different hat, different pants, and like one extra block to put in the middle to make him a little taller.
Right, exactly. I do know that their mustaches are slightly different. Oh, look, and Izandai actually just said that in chat too, that the mustaches are slightly different. It's though the whole thing with Lego doing this though, I was like, I couldn't muster up the indignation to kind of go hard on that story, especially after writing the Tamagotchi story. I was just kind of like, that's where my indignation is more about, is people just saying a goddamn name wrong about a commercial product. The Lego thing, I was like, this was always intended to be mostly innocuous. And yes, I think it's okay for people to be like, whoa, that's a little, you know, you're getting real close to the line of getting my kids to annoy me to buy more toys, which is the thing that no parent wants. Though at the same time, I'm also like, how I grew up is that if I bugged my parents for toys, it wasn't like I was going to get them.
Oh, no. I get that. And I'm not even saying, I actually think this was meant to be a fairly mundane thing as like a a weird Luigi's coming thing.
Yeah.
But I want to see when I see stuff like this happen, even if it is incredibly innocent and those companies will never go any further, which I don't believe would happen if they were allowed. But I want to see people do pushback so that when companies do stuff like this, they see that and they're like, all right, we're not going to pass that line. Because if people don't push back when stuff like this happens, they get closer to a line or over a line.
Yeah, we've shifted the Overton window. I guess it's okay to do this kind
of
thing.
That's the only reason why it's important to me that we talk about these things when we bring it up, and we when companies do it, that we're like, hey, that was cute. Don't you dare. We're watching.
Yeah.
We're watching, and we will not be happy if you go further.
All right, let's quickly talk about some of the stories that we didn't talk about in the episode. First of which is, okay, this is actually pretty awesome. Ressa Schwartzwald, who is an audio producer at Tiny Build Games, she has made, like, I guess a hack or a hardware mod or a hardware interface to turn a ring-con, like the ring-con, into an accordion. Yeah. There's a great video. Then there's a video of it.
She holds it sideways so she can operate the controls on it to make it move
between different put a Joy-Con here.
And to go like from a major key, you like rotate it one way, and to go to a minor key, you rotate the other way, and then you just like hit the buttons to change it into, because a Joy-Con goes there, like you say. Yeah. So anyway,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
In other Call of Duty Warzone news, I'm always fascinated by these not Call of Duty Warzone in particular, but these especially the Battle Royale games. We don't talk about Fortnite a lot, but there's Battle Royale games that sort of have like it's not a persistent world, but they have, these big maps and stuff, but then they actually have like events and things. And usually in aid of doing various updates to the game. Anyway, Call of Duty Warzone's one of their big maps is called Verdansk, and it's gone because it got blown up by a nuclear bomb.
And in the process, a few crashes as well, apparently.
Yeah.
A few things might crash when things blow up.
Right?
Yeah.
Which I like to think was the server map trying to save itself, and it was like, oh shit, they're going to blow me up. Just crash.
This is actually pretty awesome. So basically what happened is on this map, they basically cataclysmed it. They had this, so normally, you have the circle that goes, they get smaller and smaller and smaller with the Battle Royale stuff. And then there's also, in Warzone, you also have like another thing, in PUBG, there's like the place where bombs happen and stuff, or where there's like airstrikes. So there's other thing. But for this map, this area of infection just started growing. So you had the outside area that you couldn't do, and then you had this area inside called infection. And anybody who died in that area turned into a zombie.
Okay.
And so but this area kept growing until it got bigger and bigger and bigger until it was covering the entire island. So everybody got turned into zombies. And then there was a thing where it's like, you hear basically people hear everybody over the radio that it's like exfil from Verdansk nuclear. Basically, whoever's in charge was like, well, that island is all zombies. Let's just nuke it.
I mean, to be honest, that's probably what would happen if an entire island got zombified like that, and especially if it's a thing where infection's just going to potentially leak out past that. Yeah, that is likely what they would do, and it would be horrifying.
What's funny though is that a Battle Royale game has a length to it, right? Like the circle gets smaller, different things happen, right? And so this was supposed to happen at the end of the match, right? Everything gets nuked, and that's the end of the match. But it was such a popular event that the servers kept crashing, and so people didn't get to the bomb part.
Oh no. How will it end?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed the ending. My server crashed. That is similar.
But anyway, so the that map has been like, not only like that map has now actually been like destroyed, as in it's not available in the game anymore to play. Presumably they'll bring it back at some point with like, whatever. It'll be all different now. It'll be all different now. Maybe there'll be a big hole in the middle.
It'll be freshly pine scented and ready to go. Detailed.
Boop-a-doop-boop-boo. What else we got going on here?
We got the Mario Kart thing.
Oh, right, yeah. So yeah, Mario Kart Tour. So this is not Mario Kart 8 or Mario Kart.
Yeah, no,
Switch.
8 is the layest one.
Although
9 to be rumored forever until it happens.
As we talked about, I think previously, Mario Kart 8 is the best-selling game on Switch, by far. Which to me is slightly surprising, but it's partly to do with like bundles and stuff. Not that Mario Kart is bad, but it's just like in comparison to Zelda or Odyssey or something.
Bundles. It's a deluxe version, so it's got everything. It technically came out for the Wii U that not everybody purchased. It's got a lot of factors that really helps to push it, drive it forward.
But anyway, so this is about Mario Kart Tour, which is the mobile game that it's come out. So it is now surpassed 200 million downloads, which is pretty substantial. But more importantly, it has made over $200 million in player spending, like microtransaction or not. It's combination of microtransactions, and it also has like a subscription part to it.
Yeah,
it's like $5 a month.
I think it was Mario Kart Tour where Nintendo started experimenting with the subscription model, but maybe it was a different game and they added it in. But yeah, subscriptions where it gives you like gems and pipe whatever explosions. I played the game for like 2 days and I gave up on it. I didn't really have that Mario Kart draw for
Pocket
me.
Camp was doing the subscription thing with fortune cookies for a bit.
But that came later.
I thought that came before Mario Kart Tour came out.
No, I'm pretty sure it was with Mario Kart.
Okay. I don't know what Dragalia Lost is doing.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
It clearly worked. They started adding it into other games.
The only game that has surpassed it is Fire Emblem Heroes, which, while Mario Kart Tour has made $200 million in total player spending, Fire Emblem Heroes made $163 million in the past year. So
wow.
Whereas Mario Kart Tour has been out for a couple of years now.
Fire Emblem Heroes got the big booba. That's where it's getting all the money.
It's just when I think about the state of that game, it got really complicated. Really weird. They keep adding things to it.
I keep seeing updates for it, and they're talking about all the new things that are in it, and I'm just like, oh, it just sounds like an absolute...
I remember when it started, and it was a very simple, like, little tactics game for your phone. And now there's, like, cooking and hot springs and, like... And, I mean, I knew there was going to be, like, a million characters that joined at some point where you were going to have to buy space to keep them in and other stuff. It's actually very, like, Love Live in terms of a lot of its gameplay mechanics. But
I do like that the two aspects of complication that you're most concerned about is cooking and hot springs.
Yeah.
I was not told that there would be cooking or hot springs in this game.
I mean, it's like the meta of like which characters you actually kind of need to be super competitive is really weird to me.
All right, and I think this is our final story. Now there's a bunch of a section of Pokemon called the fossil Pokemon, which are Pokemon that are ostensibly based on real dinosaurs and old various creatures. At least more so than like the ones that are, a balloon or a piece of soft serve ice cream.
Or chandelier. It's like it's things from the Cambrian explosion, essentially. So yeah.
And so there's a new new exhibit, a touring museum exhibit that's going to be going around by presented by the Pokemon Company. That's going to be going around to different museums, and it's going to be it's called the Pokemon Fossil Museum, and it's sort of having real fossils juxtaposed with the Pokemon that fossil is based on. And
cool.
Also showing you like the fossil bone cutaways fossil of a Pokemon too, with the weird exaggerated proportions.
I feel like it's the first time that we've had official documentation from the Pokemon Company of what the insides of a Pokemon look like.
Mm.
And that is interesting in its own way, because it is like, here's the bone structure we came up to represent this Pokemon. So here's its skeleton. And then here's the actual skeleton of a thing that evolved on our own planet, on Earth, millions of years ago, and they're wildly different. But it is interesting to see that it's like, now we're going to get an idea of what this is.
Well, I mean, for the dinosaur type Pokemon anyway, right? Like the pictures in there kind of make it look like they're focusing very much on dinosaurs.
Yes.
And there's a number of those, given that a lot of the fossil type Pokemon within the Pokemon series is really kind of based on that idea. But if Nintendo or Pokemon or whoever we want to call this company came forward and said, here you can have one skeleton picture of any Pokemon you want. What's the one you want to see?
Oh, what's the one I want to see?
Yeah.
Cubone.
Cubone? Oh no.
I want to see how they represent that.
I mean, isn't
Cubone?
It's just got extra bone.
Yes, I want to see how
its mother's skull on its face.
Right?
I mean, we know what a Cubone skull looks like. It wears one on its head.
But I want to see how they represent that in Shadow, to be like, here's what, if you take the whole Cubone, because Cubone is not Cubone until it's wearing its mother's skull. I want to see how this thing has to look when you draw it with a skull on top of another skull. Otherwise, it's not Cubone.
Diglett would be interesting, because then they'd have to show the whole thing.
Yes, good idea. Or a Dugtrio actually would be pretty good too. Because
I want to see the inside of Magnemite.
I mean, there are some that clearly
it's an electronic, so it's not going to have bones. But I want to see what the inside of one of those is supposed to look like.
It just needs to
it's a living being.
I feel like that we just need that on iFixit. Tear down.
Oh my goodness, that's horrifying.
People would. Well, you do that for what's the name of it again? Rotom, the Pokedex.
Oh, yeah, Rotom.
Rotom, yeah. So you do that. Those show up on iFixit. I actually now I want to change my answer.
Rotom is like a piece of electricity, basically.
I want it to be Mimikyu.
Mimikyu's a ghost.
Yeah, but that's kind of it's like you're going to show us a teardown of what this thing's supposed to look like on the inside. Just draw a ghost. I don't care. Draw a ghost.
I kind of expect Magnemite would be like, potentially maybe has some bones, but also has like a whole bunch of electronics in it because it's supposed to be alive. And I'm like, is it a cyborg? Or is it just purely electrical?
And some Pokemon clearly just have an exoskeleton or don't have it. Like Ditto is just like a blob. I don't think Ditto has any hard parts inside.
Yes. Oh god.
That'd be funny though. There's that embryo looking one. That probably I don't want to know the skeleton of that.
What about Unknown?
And there's some that are just like rock. They don't have skeletons. They're just like some Pokemons I think are just homogenous. The whole
like Geodude.
Like Geodude doesn't have different parts. Yeah, it's just rock.
Yeah, Unknown is just kind of like the Roman alphabet. So that would be kind of because it's got an eye.
Yeah.
It's got one eye, and so it's it could have a bunch of tiny bones.
Is there a skull there to support the eye, or is it literally just like a pack of muscle that surrounds the eye?
What if it's all muscle? There's no skeleton.
Good eating.
It's just muscle.
Good eating.
Oh.
Yeah. B's and C's especially are the best eating, but don't try the J.
All right.
Sorry, it's just
yeah.
Video games are really funny when you try to think about them too hard sometimes.
Yeah, I mean there's actually a book that somebody made that somebody did that has like a ton of like cutaway drawings of Pokemon.
Yeah.
But this, which is like, that's a thing that has been done for lots of people. This is the first time it's actually been like officially from the Pokemon company though, which is
yeah.
But yeah, that's.
I mean, maybe in like the anime somewhere, maybe they've done like a bit of a skeleton thing.
Oh, where you like zap somebody with electricity, and it's like you get to see the skeleton on the inside.
Yeah, because like Pikachu's always
like
zapping
in a doctor's
people,
office
and or like the Pokemon Center, they might have something close. Well, now I gotta watch all of Pokemon.
All right, let's call it there. I think that's all the news we want to talk about. Coming up, Friday Night Paper Fight, where it's going to be on Arena. Strixhaven Sealed should be super cool. And then on Saturday, it is Loading Ready Live. Woo! We're very excited. We know some of the things that are going to happen. Hopefully, other things will happen. The show itself will happen.
Yep.
Those are all the guarantees that we make.
Yep. And that we might start on time.
Yep. On Sunday, continuing on the epic journey of the taiko drums.
We might finish it this time for sure.
Oh, really?
Well, last time I said that, and I was like, yeah, it'll probably take us half an hour. We might even before the show, Ian and I were like, what if we run out of story by the half hour? Like, how could we fill that in? And we're like, oh, we'll just do whatever. And it turned out there was more than we thought. But we are actually trying to fight the last thing, probably. So it's probably gonna probably end this time.
That's good. Good to hear.
I hope.
And speaking of Pokemon, Is This Your Card? Ben and Ben are going to be doing more Pokemon Online TCG on Sunday evening. And then on Monday, I am continuing on with Death Stranding. I am getting down to the wire here because of the weird chapter system that it uses. I believe there are 15 chapters, and I'm currently on chapter 8, and yet I am very close to the end of the game. Because what's the point in having chapters that are all the same length?
They wrote a book where the first 7 chapters were really long, and then the last 8 chapters were 1 pages each.
Please insert disc 2.
They got to the end of the page, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta write the little." And then on Monday, in the afternoon, it's the Can't Draw Horses Club, where Corey and friends will be attempting to draw something. Sometimes it's horses, sometimes it's other things.
It's been hands.
Yeah, last week was hands. Yeah. I don't know what the topic is this week.
They measure horses in hands.
They went from circles to hands, so they're moving pretty fast along the...
Yes.
You'd be surprised how many circles are in a hand.
But most horses don't have hands.
Do you actually measure horses in hands?
You do.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
It's a number of hands from the ground up to their
whose hand?
Shoulder.
Because my hand's smaller than
a hand is like a relatively standardized. Well, this is the case with a lot of these kind of measurements.
It's like a grizzled old country Englishman.
How many barley corns large are your feet? And then on Monday evening, myself and Beej and Adam are going to be going in. Well, I say Beej and me and Adam. It's really Adam is going to be playing it, and Beej and I are going to be heckling him as he plays it.
Yeah,
that's really
we'll sit there, pushing forward.
Really, yeah.
Making sure that he gets the good path, looking out
that,
for him.
Yeah, that's always worked.
Yeah, I'm sure you, the two of you are just looking out for Adam and helping him.
It's
make it through safely.
It's like a game of devil on your shoulder, but Adam's the devil, and we're just being like, wait, you can't have two shoulders in the devil game. Like, it doesn't work.
I bet you're both real helpful.
No, we try.
And then
I bet Adam helps back.
And then on Tuesday, it is 9:00, followed by more Control, Talking Sim, followed by Resident Evil 6 on Let's Nope. So, lots of cool stuff coming up. LoadingReadyRun.com/live to find the full schedule. Now, let's thank some of the awesome people who subscribed during this stream.
You know what the most important news this week was for me?
What?
The Great Ace Attorney is finally coming to North America, and no one can stop me.
Right. Jacob 97 is back for 2 years. Welcome, Jacob.
Fight. Gifted.
Nice. Mr. Twitch Streamer, think you're so great, Mr. Twitch Streamer. With your gifted sub from the Meerkat.
Mr. Twitch Streamer, can you tell me what you are streaming? What game are you streaming, Mr. Twitch Streamer?
Where's Luigi? Less popular Mario's missing.
Yeah.
If that's possible.
Mr. Twitch Streamer, what's gameplay? What the game are you playing?
I like where's Luigi?
I know the title says it.
Is like a question, but also it's like, do we care? It's like, where's Luigi? Oh, he's around somewhere.
Have you tried looking down at the haunted mansion down the street?
He's having his own adventures.
Where the Scooby Gang is? I think he's hanging out with them.
Yeah, follow the yelps and screams. He's probably there.
He might be cleaning up. I saw him with a vacuum cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
He's gonna borrow that big fucking flood from Dr. Egad, and he's gonna God, that game. It was chores. It was Super Mario chore time.
Beach really doesn't seem to like Super Mario Sunshine.
Just the longer I think about it, I spent all that time playing it, and I'm just like, you know what? Ultimately, all that was is just go outside and clean the driveway, and don't worry, we're gonna muck it up again later. And you're gonna have to clean it up again.
Beach played this game on Beach's backlog, which you probably find VODs for somewhere if you look very deep over on our VOD channel of youtube.com/loadingreadylive.
And then,
you can also support the stream on patreon.com/loadingreadyrun.
If you go watch the original VODs, you can get Beej's pure reactions at the time.
It was a lot. It was fun until it stopped being fun, and I kept playing it.
Yeah, that pinball level was something. I remember that one.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.